Hollywood, Hollywood, that's your boy, Hollywood. He puts it.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Patience, and I decided to come at you with this one. In this one, I want to show you guys how I animated this Coke can. I don't have any rights to Coca-Cola. This was not any works done um, on the demand, I guess you could say, of Coca-Cola. This was just something that I decided to do in my own spare time and apply it to my portfolio. And in the process, I just wanted to show you guys roughly what I did and how I went about it. I did have a mistake when I started out with this. Um, how I start with the Coke can is a little bit out of sequence to a starting process. So if you want to see the absolute starting progress from start to finish in a proper fashion, then just leave it down in the comments and I can try and get that tutorial posted up for anyone that's interested in understanding how to unwrap a UV onto your object and to apply it, as well as to I guess you can say deform it, as it were. So in this one, I tried to speed it up a little bit as well, just so that we could all see what I've done, and at the same time not take up too much of your time, because I'm sure that you guys are pretty busy as well. So anyway, I'll start off getting my reference picture, which is what you can see on screen now, and from there I get my object that I hope to manipulate, and I use it to deform. I deform it into the shape in which I want it. So I got me a cylinder, which was my option of choice, and I once I upload it into the scene, I use the reference picture to then model it out to to find dimensions in which would be needed to have a recognizable Coke can. Like I said, the process was done prior, and I did make a slight mistake, so I decided to do it again in an easier format because prior I had used a cube, and this time I used a cylinder. And it makes it a lot easier to use a cylinder for showing off as to using a cube, where it does get a little bit more technical. You got to use a lot more bevels and a lot more you got to know a bit more with what you're doing. And so yeah, so I continued from that process and I started again. So that's why you've got the UVs already applied to my object. But anyway, as you can see here, I'm shaping my verts into the position that replicate the form of a typical Coke can that we'd all be familiar with. As you can see, my UVs are slightly out of uh, position. So the logo that we want on the sides is at the top and at the bottom, and the bottom and the top logos are at the side. So I quickly fixed that up. As you can see, without using any vectors or any coordinates, which is actually a more efficient and sufficient way of getting through this working program. I like to believe it's also pretty quick. So it's a lot quicker. What I did want to do was actually apply some of my own shaders onto this as well. But that's something that I think I will apply in another video, especially on one of my own work pieces. Um, as I stated, this is not my own work piece, guys. This is Coca-Cola's brand, and I felt that this would be an awesome project to apply to my portfolio, as I love Coca-Cola my darn self, and I love drinking it, and I've bought many cans and many bottles within my lifetime, and I've enjoyed drinking each can, each bottle, to the finish, every single time. Obviously, I don't like drinking more than one or two cans or bottles. I'm talking the little bottles, not the big bottles, because I bought the big bottles as well. The reason why I don't like drinking so much because I do end up with sugar rush, and that's not good for anyone. Anyway, as you can see here, I decided to clear up my UVs. So what I'm doing here is I'm just creating a new material to blot out the material from the red material from the well, as you can see. Anyway, as well, this is also a low poly version to my work process, guys. I just wanted to show you guys that once you use UVs, how you can create a kind of photorealistic image using this method. So it's actually pretty easy once you know what you're doing, and once you actually truly do this bit here. What I'm doing is I'm trying to create a ribbon around the lowercase of the silver part, the metallic part of the can, and the decorated part, which would be where the logos are, the red bit. Because in my mind I was thinking I'm pretty sure it's kind of like a lip. Now I could have gave it like an extraction, as it were, but I didn't decide to go with that option. What I decided was to kind of stretch it out or dip it in just to give it that feature. Anyway, you can see me kind of shaping the soda pop bottle to make it look just the way that it's supposed to. I go into quite in-depth modeling with this one because it's something that I do actually enjoy doing and something that I have not really done in a while. So I figured it would be a good time to showcase how I do this. So here I go into the normals, and I click the normals shading bar just to ensure that the angles keep their right shading shadows, as it were. um, Before I proceed, you don't always have to turn that off, but I figured for this in this instance, it would probably be for the best. Here what I do is I take this object, I go into edit mode, and then I merge all the vertices down to one, um, to the center core. And the reason why is because I'm going to extrude each vertex into a particular shape. And as you can see, I'm slightly off from the right angle, as it were. So what I decided to do is get me an empty to use instead, so I can use it to manipulate how my mirror will work, a mirror modifier. Um, so I enjoyed using the mirror modifier, and I do use the mirror modifier quite a lot in my works to ensure that obviously I get the proper evenness from one side mirrored over to the other side, of course. And so yeah, so here I use an empty as my object or my instrument to help me achieve this. And I found by rotating the empty, it would help me align my my mirrored target into the position that I wanted. Now, what I want to do is I want to create this soda pop opener that you can see on every Coca-Cola can. And so that's what I'm trying to model here. So I was always slightly too far ahead of myself. I figured it would always be best for me to actually model the actual opener first before giving it any kind of thickness, etc., etc., etc. After I do, um, after I model this out, I go on to just creating a basic indent in the can, um, around, where you got the lip, the metallic part, the silver part, where you got those little indents as they come, create that flat surface where you'd find the opener, and go into modeling that very briefly. Um, and then I then go into positioning the can and getting it ready for composition. So I composite a little bit, and then I'm not sure if I actually show it off in the actual finish render, but I show roughly how far I got, to give you the idea of how I rendered rendered this project. Um, so I chose Coca-Cola because it's a franchise that I'm obviously very fond of. Christmas is also coming up, so I know this would be one of the companies that will thrive, probably do very well. Because I'm pretty sure they usually do every Christmas because we always see adverts with them. And it's something that I've just always wanted to do. I believe I also saw an artist create something of this sort, so I figured it was something that also inspired me to want to make my own. So I did. I was thinking about animating it, but I applied, obviously, as you saw at the beginning, a little animation, but I could have opened up the can as well. And I was thinking of getting sound to it, like doing my own little advertisement, but I figured I wouldn't go too far as it's not my own work, it's not my own. So I figured I'll just keep it brief because I don't have any copyright rights to it at all. So should I get a request to remove the video from YouTube, I most certainly will, guys. But it was something that I wanted to show you guys roughly about how I go around modeling in a basic, very basic, and novice level. So after, I mean, there's much easier ways to get this bit here done, but the idea is not necessarily trying to find the best solution. The idea was just showing how you can approach modeling in a 3D platform, and this is one of the ways in which I may choose to go about modeling because it's not only fun but it's also good exercise to help keep your mind it's not really intuitive, but to keep it, I guess you could say fresh with how you approach matters. It does get a lot more technical when you're dealing with vertices, but like I said, this is a very basic stage of how you could go about approaching a task such as this. It does take a little bit of time, but if you know what you're doing and you use this method, you can guarantee that your work is going to look very much so finished and somewhat immaculated. What I do is with the silver part of the can that I'm actually currently working on at the moment, I do apply a little shader to it to blend it in with the opener that I'm working on now, because I put my own shaders to this as well. I do not use any UVs on it. So the idea was to try and blend it as good as I could. So that was something that I also enjoyed tackling my darn self, and something that I might do in my own time in the future to see if I can't create something a little bit more presentable in a professional kind of manner. But this one here, as I stated before, is somewhat like a low poly. It was just a quick slap and dash, as it were, just which was what I did actually before. But it was a bit more tricky because, like I said, starting from a cube, and you got to understand a little bit more about using bevels, I guess, and to really smooth your work off because you start off using your subdivisions, at least I did, and when you apply your UVs it can get a bit tricky there. So I figured it would be easier for me to do this way, and later on down the road I might try and do the same darn task with starting off with a cube. But anyway, guys, I did have a lot of fun working with this one, and one of my favorite parts was working with a shader. As you can see there, the opener is very glossy, it's very shiny, but how I had to work around that one was I had to lower the roughness so it weren't so rough. And that was one of the key parts into blending this down. And then later on, I also blend the metallic roof as well of the soda pop can, which also helps quite a big deal. I also, in the finish render, if you go back and check it out, I also give the can a little bit of its own gloss as well. I can't remember if I used more or less roughness to give it more of a sheen, but whichever one it was that I did, I believe I took away the roughness, so as to give it more of a glow effect, which really gave it that finishing look that I was looking for. Anyway, the plane that you can see that I've just summoned is to help me get an idea of how this may look after I have prepared it for a render. Or to composite it for a render, as it were. So I did give it a backlight, and I gave it two front lights, and there's a light. The two front lights are more positioned to the right side of the can, and I've got a very strong light positioned to the left side of the can, pushed quite far out, and I have a back rim light, which was I think it's an area light, that's behind the can, which gives us that light effect that you can see at the beginning of the intro of the can as it spins around. I think I might briefly show how I animated the can for the finishing render, but I don't go in depth there, guys. But that is something that I will try and get done for you guys, maybe in the future. Um, so just bear with me. Okay, so yeah, um, I think at this part, what I might be doing is prepping the can via the UV. I think I'm trying to clear up the UVs at this point, but I can't be 100% sure. I'm also preparing how to render my shot as well. I'm prepping the colors, and I'm making sure that my colors are in the standard. I guess you could say contrast, or filmic or whatever. I changed it from filmic to a standard, so as to keep the original colors of my can. That was something that I picked up in my stylized work, because I do tend to find that I bring a lot of my colors in from my 2D platform into my 3D platform on an emission, so as to help keep uh, the right level of lighting, and also to keep the right colors, the original colors of my work set. So here, this is where I go into briefly modeling the can a little bit more, giving it just little basic shapes to make it stand out a little bit more. Um, the idea that I got in my head was to probably go ahead and use a bump node, but I didn't go through with it because I, you will see at the end we don't really see the top of the can. So for this tutorial, as it were, I didn't really feel the need to do so. Now, I'll say this is a tutorial. It's not really a tutorial. It's more like a lead up to a tutorial. If you're happy with what you see and you would like me to make a follow-up to this video, more detailed, in a more professional manner, giving off maybe a little bit more live, with tutorial like step-by-step guides. You can leave your comments down, or you can leave your notes down in the comments below, and I will pick it up, read it, and I will get back to you on that one, I hope. I actually said this before. I have been having a lot of trouble with my YouTube. So if you have been leaving a lot of notes and I have not been getting back to you, I must apologize. But I've had to change a lot of settings on my YouTube station, and had a little discussion with YouTube to ensure that comments would be handled in a fashionable manner, for reasons between me and YouTube, I guess I could say. But anyway, here you can see me positioning my camera in a fashionable manner. This is ensuring that everything is prepared for rendering, because I'm practically satisfied with what I have. So what I'm going to do now is duplicate my soda pop cans, switch them into position. As you can see, it's looking very photorealistic. It's looking pretty darn fine. And this is just really basic modeling, guys. There's nothing really key to what I personally have done in this project my darn self. So I position them in a way that is, I would say, very strategic, which I didn't necessarily purpose. It wasn't something I did purposefully, but as you can see, the can to the furthest right is, you can see the Coca-Cola. The one to the furthest left, you can see the details about the can, and the one in the middle, you can just about see the Coca-Cola logo. And the idea is to animate them in sequence to give us the information that we would need step by step, as it were. So that's what I decided to go with. I didn't add any, like I said, any original themes from the Coca-Cola. Obviously, I don't have copyright issues to that, or permission to it, I should say. And I was thinking of doing my own little advertisement, saying like the soda pop, making the soda pop can noise, and probably doing like a little advertisement, but I decided to leave it out in the end. But this is the rim light that you can see me making now in the background. In the finished render, I decided to add a little blue hue to it, just to make the cans pop out a little bit more. Also, I blurred out the background and kept the focus on the main center can with a little blur on the two cans behind. Everything else in the background is mostly blurred out. Applied light effects to give it more of a stunning effect, because most of us like to drink fancy drinks, mostly in the daytime when it's probably around your summertime or nice and cool, but you want your beverages chilled. So I went with something along those lines that could appeal to multiple suggestions, and yeah, I was pretty satisfied with that. So that's roughly how I would advise, I guess, a novice individual getting into graphics design, as it were, to approach a certain matter such as this, because problem solving can be very easy. It's not tricky at all, and it's pretty straightforward. Hence why I didn't really go with the cube. I decided to go with the cylinder. This way, you can easily manipulate your instrument, and in no time get the finished look to your renders that you want or desire. So if you're satisfied with what you see here, I hope it can help you along your processes also, and can't wait to see fine works done by you guys. Also, thanks for your inspiration as well, guys, out there, because I really do love the art community and sharing within the art community, and I think that all of us sticking together helps others to also get inspired and share with their creativity alongside us as well. Be sure to be kind, and encouraging to others just getting into the game. Try not to put them down too much, because we all know that art can be very challenging, as well as it can be very frustrating. And so having guiders and leaders there can be more beneficial and helpful, rather than always pointing out the negatives to someone's work. Um, so there's no real right or wrong way to how you approach your work, just as long as you get the work done and have it looking like the way it's supposed to. Mainly talking to people like myself that's novices, and working for their own, I guess you could say, interest, and for their own portfolio. And also building up on your confidence, and etc etc etc. So here you can see that I've rendered out my little situation. I might go ahead and give a little render to this. So I'm going to leave you guys with the outflow. Where's your boy Patience? Leave your thumbs, your likes, and your comments if you enjoyed this work. It's your boy. Over and out, guys.
Hay 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 boy, hay boy, hay boy, hay boy,